Hi, this is On Imagination with the Healing Garden, and this video is being recorded for one very particular person in response to a comment she very respectfully left. So I started to write out my response, and then I realized this is something I would rather talk face to face on because it's a topic I have been waiting for someone to come along and actually poke at. Curing mental illness. No, I don't believe you can cure mental illness, but I also don't believe that they are mental illnesses. They are not an illness at all. The argument you put forward was absolutely accurate, except these are not mental illnesses. This terminology came from a bunch of medical doctors who did not understand subconscious minds at all. The best thing they had was medicine. Psychology is not medicine, and that's the problem. It is philosophy. Understanding human behavior is a branch of philosophy, and it has over 2,000 years steeped in it. When Freud came along, he threw out the philosophy and totally embraced and focused on the medical aspect. Medicine had no business ever touching philosophy and psychology, and that's the problem. So they came up with terminology. They throw medications at us. And all of this is the wrong approach. And the reason why it's the wrong approach is because there's nothing wrong with a mental illness, because it's not a mental illness. An illness implies that it is inside of you. What we are actually dealing with is a behavioral defense. Now, the behavioral defense is doing exactly what we were programmed and conditioned to do in the horrific situation that we were in. It is the abuse that is the illness, not the individual. There is nothing wrong with an individual who had to develop behavioral defenses to begin with. Now, what's really going on is inside the cognitive core, that processing where our perspectives are formed. An abuser comes along and basically corrupts the cognitive core by implanting toxic beliefs, lies into us. When they lie, it completely confuses us and it alters our programming. There's a lot of other things going on, and I explain this in all of my videos. But basically what ends up happening is our minds take that information and we don't quite understand it. So we create an invasive perspective. That way it has a way of processing what we've been told by the abuser or what was done to us by the abuser, because we're trying to understand it. And that's all a mental illness is us trying to process something we don't understand. That's it. Now, every mental illness comes from the same source. It's perspective abuse. Every mental illness, every behavioral defense comes from a single, simple, identical belief that the information the abuser has given us is a fact, when in fact, it's an opinion. Something at some point was said to us by all of our abusers where they said to us, this is fact, when it was their opinion. Because they claimed it was a fact, and we trusted them because they used basic psychology to gain our trust, to make them relatable to us, to allow us to open up and allow ourselves to be vulnerable to them because we saw a connection. They took advantage, they lied to us, and they supplanted inside of our minds a lie, claiming that their opinion is fact. Now, when you say something is fact, in our brains, we go, oh, well, if it's fact, we can't argue with that. But it's not a fact, it's an opinion. So we take their fact and we process it into our mind, and then we try and shape our entire perspective around a fact that is, in fact, their perspective. Suddenly it doesn't match up, it's inconsistent, there's confusion, we don't know what to do with it, and our entire cognitive core gets stuck in processing. So, to compensate, the subconscious mind creates an invasive perspective. Immediately, the individual tries to toggle between both perspectives because now you've got your perspective and the invasive perspective put there by the abuser's lies, and you toggle them. This is why we see mood swings. This is why we see inconsistency, is because the subconscious mind is trying to follow behavior for this perspective, our perspective, and follow the behavior of the invasive perspective. Put another abuser into this mix with their lies that's being posed as opinions, and that creates another invasive perspective. So you can have one person with up to 4 or 5 different perspectives all crammed into their head, but they're inconsistent because we are trying to live by the truth of other people. This is philosophy. This is not medicine. This is absolutely pure logic and formal argument and debate, which is what dialectical behavioral therapy is. But I'm going to say again, this is philosophy. This has nothing to do with medicine. It is not a disease because there's nothing wrong. The wrong is the abuse. The only thing wrong is we're not taught how to handle it properly because we haven't known until now. So the terminology that's been selected for us to use by doctors is disease and illness. Oh, but it's incurable. I don't believe in any of this jargon. But I am talking to an entire group of people who do believe in that jargon. So I can't go in and say, guess what? I found out how to get rid of your behavioral defenses. All we have to do is identify and eliminate the lie that was given to us where they told us that their opinion was in fact a fact when it's not. But I can't say that to the common man because they don't understand that language because this language is new. So I have to use a language that they are using. I have to use the same language. So I say, you can cure a mental illness. But in point of fact, there is no mental illness. It's a behavioral defense. And behavioral defenses are actually good. Oh, they are wonderful. They are defenses. You're not crazy. You're trying to survive a crazy situation. It's beautiful. And once you get out of the crazy situation and you figure out and understand, what you're really doing is seeking closure. But you can't seek closure because you have incorrect data in front of you. The abuse is them giving us a false premise. Let's go back to formal argument and debate. When an abuser comes along and they give you a false premise, what they are really doing is lying to you and incorporating a toxic or limiting belief inside of your cognitive core using false premise that they are insisting is a fact. But because we believe them and trust them, we accept that into our system, and it completely hijacks our subconscious mind, takes everything over, and because we need to survive, the subconscious mind immediately sides with the abuser to keep us safe. It's a safety mechanism. So no, you can't cure mental illness, but mental illnesses don't exist. Behavioral defenses do. And a behavioral defense is just an invasive perspective designed for you to survive safely in a horrific situation. So to reverse it, to take care of it, all you need to do, literally all you need to do, is locate the toxic lie that they gave you, that you have computed into your mind as a fact. That's not a fact. There are no such things as facts. If you study philosophy and if you dive deep into actual fact and opinion, you find out that facts actually don't exist at all because a fact has to be based upon the same metric for everybody across the board. Now, scientists will argue this, but you change the atmosphere and the data changes. So even the information that is given to us as fact by scientists are in an exact, very precise atmosphere. A fact isn't a fact unless the same results happen in all different atmospheres. But that's a philosophical debate we can have later, really off topic. But again, is there such thing as a fact? Now, an abuser will have you believe that their opinions are facts, and that's the problem. If you can identify what lies you were told by your abuser, if you can identify what opinions they gave you presented as facts, you can locate them, identify them as lies, reject them from your system, literally out-argue, use formal argument to remove their lies. And then they will go away, literally just go away because your cognitive core, your subconscious mind will literally reject them as, oh, this is inaccurate data. Boom, gone. As soon as that happens, then the invasive perspective goes away. The invasive perspective is the emotional mental environment required for the behavioral defense to exist to begin with. That will go away with the toxic belief, and your perspective will shift right where it needs to be so that it aligns with your truth, back to your identity and back to your alignment. So no, none of this is absolutely at all connected with anything to do with traditional psychology, because traditional psychology is based off of medicine. Classic psychology is philosophy. I am a philosopher. The information, any information down below, you can go ahead and take a look at my links and if you want to learn more about me. Thank you so much.